Hi, welcome back to the channel and a slightly different setting for today. In today's video I want to talk about everything, well, most of the things that I took with me to Europe. My thoughts on those things and whether or not I would recommend that people buy them, I suppose, is the important thing. I would say that most of the stuff that I took with me is on the more budget side of equipment to take. Some of it isn't. None of these products are sponsored. Let's crack on and talk about stuff. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the luggage that I took on the trip. I only got the bike, I think 5 days before I was due to leave, and the bike didn't have any sort of pannier rack. It didn't come with any pannier, so I had to go out and buy something relatively cheap that would work on the bike. That ended up being in the form of the Givy, whatever you want to call it, Canyon sort of rackless system, which was then accompanied with the corresponding bags. And yeah, so at the time of recording this video, the price of these RRP is £137 for the base and £80, well, £79 for the bags. On the whole, these actually worked pretty well. The build quality on them is okay. It's not amazing. The buckles are all plastic. The buckles that mount the bottom of the rack to like the foot pegs or wherever it is that you would want to mount them on the frame, those did snap off. One of them snapped off in a crash, so I'll forgive that one. The other one actually just snapped off when I was trying to like cinch some bags down, so that's not great. The buckles that they use to sort of like cinch things down, they're just sort of like plastic and not very good. Yeah, but they worked. And they don't cost the amount of like a Moto rackless system or the Lone Rider sort of rackless system. If you want something that's a little bit on the cheaper side, I would say that this is a decent thing to go for, but you probably you might end up with some issues. You could make it cheaper by not buying these bags. They are just 20 litre bags, they're like dry bags, so you could buy cheaper dry bags, I suppose. One thing I will say though is that even though I crashed, the bags didn't rip. There is a little bit of damage on, where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, so that there, I don't know how well you'll be able to see that in camera. Let me just do that just in case. Yeah, so that did rip, but it was a crash, so you know, it's kind of okay. It did land on the bag. It didn't tear all the way through. The bag actually is still pretty good. So yeah, it worked as much as I needed it to work. I don't think for long-term travel, if you were going to go away for months maybe at a time, possibly wouldn't go for them. Maybe invest that money into something else. I haven't tried anything more expensive than those in terms of a rackless system, so I can't really pass judgment on anything else, but they did work for the 2 weeks that I was away. I will use them again, I imagine, at some point in the near future. I also used this, which is the Lomo dry bag. That is, at the moment, is £17. Pretty cheap. You could probably get away with using, I don't know if Lomo have 20 litre dry bags, but if they were made from that sort of material, it feels fairly similar to the Givy ones, or Givy, whatever they are called. But yeah, so that is that, and the tank bag that I used was this. It's the Oxford Aqua. Is that what it was? I can't remember now. That is £49. A couple of things to mention with this is that it doesn't feel amazing, like it's like super secure on the bag. Like there's not like a sort of a tight fit, so it does kind of rattle about a bit. And getting it on and off the bike with these zips is a bit of a pain. I only had to do that a couple of times, you know, so yeah. One thing that I do like is it's got this clear thing, so you can still see I've got there the ferry crossing that I did. You could put your phone in that if you didn't have a handlebar mount. I think so in total, I think that's an 8-litre tank bag, so it would be 88 litres of storage that I had on the bike. For, you know, more budget friendly stuff, like all of that stuff worked well, and for the price that you pay, it did a decent job. On to campsite stuff. So I've tried out a few different things camping, and this setup that I've got at the moment works quite well in terms of packability and comfort, we'll say, for the trip that I did. So the first thing to talk about, I suppose, is the tent. Probably one of the more important items for moto camping. This is a Van Gogh compact, it's an Apex Compact 200. It's a 2-man tent. I have done trips where 2 people have slept in this. It is incredibly tight in there. There's not a lot of room in this. It does work quite well for moto camping for one person. There is a little porch area out the front. There is also enough room on the inside of the tent to put like your riding gear and anything else that you would need to have in the tent with you. Yeah, so this tent at the moment, at the time of recording the video, is £145. So for a fairly lightweight tent that has a decent pack size, yeah, I think it's a pretty good tent for the money. Some of the things that I don't think are great about this tent, there's the storage on the inside of the tent. You know, there's no hooks or anything like that you could like hang a light off the inside of the tent, which it's not the end of the world, but it's kind of nice when you're, you know, camping for a long time. You know, if you're doing it for more than a few days, that would be a nice feature. But there is a newer version of this tent which I haven't tried, so that might have sorted the problem out. It's a really simple tent to set up. There's only one pole. It's small enough that it doesn't take up a huge amount of space in your panniers. You know, for a 20-litre bag, I had that, a first aid kit, some tyre levers, and a bottle of chain lube, and that all fit into a 20-litre bag. The sleeping mat which I took was this, which is the Alp Kit Cloud Base. Again, not a super expensive sleeping mat, as you can see, quite small. It's $54.99, so it's not super expensive. For the trip that I did, there was no point where I thought that this was not warm enough. You know, yeah, it's a lightweight sleeping mat. The other mat that I have, which I go camping with quite a lot, is this, which is the Xped Sin Mat 7. So you can kind of see the difference in size of those two roll mats. That is a much more comfortable mat. However, when you're really trying to save some space, that is a much better option, which is why I went for it. And yeah, not crazy expensive. Sleeping bag is this. This is a Cedar Summit Traverse TV2. Has a comfort rating of 2 degrees, a lower limit of -4 degrees, this is all Celsius, and an extreme rating of -21 degrees. It's got a fairly substantial size to it. You can make it, you know, a little bit more packable by like cinching down these straps and everything. But yeah, I mean, that took up most of a 20-litre roll bag. I think I had maybe a jumper or something, or some like warm gear in with that. But yeah, that again, that's a fairly old. I bought that maybe 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I can't really remember now. So that as a little campsite setup is pretty good. Moving on to cooking, I suppose. On previous trips that I've been on, I took this, which is a fire maple sort of jet boil-esque thing. It's quite big and bulky, and since I was switching to the rackless panniers, space, you know, became a little bit more important. So I ended up not taking this. And instead, I took this, which is the Sea Summit Frontier kettle. So that's, you know, for one person is great. You definitely don't need anything bigger than that. And then one pan, which was the Alp Kit Mighty Pan 1200. So it's a 1200 milliliter pot. And yeah, managed to do most things with those two items. So I think that's probably going to end up being my new cooking setup, as opposed to this, because you can't really cook in this. I've tried it, it didn't work. So it's great for boiling water, but aside from that, you know, I suppose if you were just using like dry, sort of like what are they called, like freeze-dried camp meals or the boil in a bag stuff, that probably works really well, and it would probably work better than using this. But yeah, for the meals that I cooked, that was a really good setup. It's obviously, you know, in terms of like pack size as well, it's really handy that fits inside of the pot, and it worked really well. Stove wise, this is what I took, is the Alp Kit Kraku. Yeah, Kraku. One of those sort of like mini things that just pops straight on top of your gas canister. This is the gas canister that I took because this is what I had in the house at the time. You definitely don't need to take one that big, you know, for 2 weeks. This is, I would say, quite a decent little burner. It's got quite a decent amount of power in it, and yeah, it just packs really small. There are cheaper versions of this out there. There is also more expensive versions of this out there, again, which I haven't tried. This was, or is, $24.99. Forgot about you. I took a pillow as well, a little camping pillow. This was a really cheap one off of Amazon. I think it was a tenner. Some people might just want to roll up a jacket and sleep on that. For this much space, I think it's, you know, for me, taking a pillow is worth it. Okay, let's talk about riding gear. We'll go bottom up, I suppose. From what you will be able to see with these boots, they got very wet whilst I was away, particularly on the last couple of days. These are Merlin Bandits, I think. These, I've been riding with these for years. And on this trip was the first time that the waterproofing had failed on them. I was riding through torrential rain for 8 hours one day, and I could just feel that my boots were absolutely full of water. You know, small crash, didn't have any ankle injuries. They obviously don't provide a whole heap of sort of like protection. They're sort of a more urban boot, but rather than taking, I didn't really fancy wearing big chunky like ADV boots. I do have a pair of those, but these were the ones that I took, and didn't really have any problems. So trousers. Oh, sorry. The price of those boots currently is £199. I do recommend those boots. I think they're really good. So these are the sort of like riding jeans that I took. These are the Merlin Warrens. Yeah, cargo pants. Really comfortable. Even on the really hot days, it didn't sort of like cook my legs or anything. They are £172. Again, I think they've been discontinued. But really good jeans, quite comfortable. I like the sort of the cargo pant look. So they did a good job while I was away. Again, I survived a small sort of crash where I hit my knee, so they didn't sort of like tear into shreds. Yeah, would recommend those. Jacket wise, this is I suppose the protective layer that I took, which is the Knox Urban Pro or Urbane Pro, whichever one you want to call it. But yeah, really good if you don't want to wear the sort of classic ADV jacket sort of thing, because you can wear that and also wear different things. So I took just a normal shirt to ride around in on like the really hot days, and I had this, which is just a normal outdoor waterproof jacket. I think that's a Montane Alpine Pro jacket. Again, I've had it for a really long time. It was no longer waterproof on the last day, but like I say, I was riding through torrential rain for about 8 hours. So take what you will from that. It's not a motorbike jacket, so normally on days where it's absolutely hammering it down with rain, I've got a smock that I'll wear, but that's like a proper bike jacket, so I didn't want to have to take two kinds of biker jacket, because that one would have been far too hot for like the really, really hot days. What next? Gloves. Gloves wise, I took 2 pairs. I took these, which are the Knox Action Pros, which are the waterproof gloves, and I didn't use them once. I don't know if I like them yet. I think I do, but I can't really tell. Anyway, haven't given them enough of a run in to see whether or not I like them yet. These, however, are the gloves that I've been using for maybe 3 years, which are the Knox Orsa OR3s, and they are really good. They're not the most comfortable things in the world, but the palm sliders I actually really rate, and I don't know if I would go back to a glove that doesn't have palm sliders in, because it just means that your hand, if it hits the floor, just sort of like skates away from you. So I've got a little bit of a shoulder injury with that happening. However, I didn't break my wrist, so that is good. Helmet wise, I took this, which is the Scorpion Exo carbon fiber helmet, I think. Yeah. Really good helmet, very comfortable, and protected my face, which is good. So I didn't really hit my head, it just sort of like scraped along the floor a little bit. But I've had 3 other helmets. This is definitely by far my favourite one that I've bought. So yeah, really, really good helmet. Yeah, even though it's a black helmet, I didn't get super hot. There's pretty good ventilation in this, and yeah, would recommend. It's a very good helmet, and it's not the most expensive thing particularly for a carbon fiber helmet. I think I got that in a sale as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. Now, the rest of the stuff that I packed, I'm kind of not going to go through. Stuff that I think you can use your imaginations on how it's packed. So things like clothes. Down to some sort of like honourable mention things now for like travelling in general. What else did I? yeah, a power bank. Yeah, I took this, which is, I think it's from a company called Juice. It's a fairly substantial power bank. Yeah, just really, really handy. I did take a spare one, which I used a couple of times because I had a little bit of an issue with the quad lock charger that I've got on the bike, which I'll talk about in another video. A decent head torch. This one is a Petzl. Not sure if these are still being made, but I think that was 70-ish quid, I think, which some people will think is a lot of money for a head torch, and I do agree for a light. But I've used cheaper sort of like head torches, which do work. They're kind of fine if you kind of got stuck anywhere that's really, really dark. This is a very good head torch to go for. So I do think you don't have to spend loads of money, but like getting a decent head torch is sort of like quite useful. This, again, multi-tool. This is a Leatherman Wingman. It is, it's a Leatherman. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. However, I think at some point or another, I used that more or less every day whilst I was away for just general sort of stuff. It's some really good quality pliers. This model doesn't have like all the bells and whistles of like some of the more expensive Leathermans. It's about 70 quid, 60, 70 quid. Yeah, the multi-tools are just really, really useful. I've used cheaper multi-tools from Amazon, which either broke really quickly, the tools blunt or round out really quickly, and they're just fairly fragile. Mostly because most of the people who have Leathermans swear by Leathermans. I am now one of those people who swears by Leathermans. But yeah, I think that's kind of everything. Obviously things like washing up liquid, cooking oil, those sorts of things, you don't need to see how they're packed. You can sort of work out your own ways of packing those, but Ziploc bags is usually the way that I would do it. But yeah, that's kind of everything that I took for 2 weeks around Europe for the summer. Yeah, there's nothing that I took which I think was a disaster whilst I was away. It all worked pretty well, and I would use probably all of it again. If I had an endless budget, I would upgrade some stuff, but that's not the world that we live in. So if there is anything that people take on their trips which I didn't take on mine, which you think I would benefit or other people would benefit from hearing about, stick it down in the comments and we'll chat about it. If you've had experience with any of this gear, let me know what you thought. From next week, I think that's going to be the start of the series, of the travel series, so maybe stick around for that. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.